It's no surprise to anyone that Rides of Red has caused a bit of controversy. And by that I mean some people are saying it completely destroys the canon. Other people are saying it's fine, it's not that big of a deal. Other people are saying it's not that big of a deal, but it does destroy the canon. Some people are saying you're all wrong. Insert fourth opinion here. And so because I'm stressed out of my mind with moving, and I want to make sure I have more of a hand to the pulse of you guys, I decided this video would be very appropriate in reacting and commenting to your comments. And also some really weird TikToks that my partner sent me, and I'll save that for the end. I feel like there was an entire third arc that was completely cut, and that made the ending abrupt and off-putting from what they just went through. Would have loved to see the twist of Ella being the one to prank her, or at least see the castle coming scene before being shunted back to the future. Yeah, the quote-unquote third arc is gonna be the next tie-in movie. This movie just feels like a setup for what's hopefully something bigger they have planned. But then again, I'm really giving them the benefit of the doubt here. And yeah, not seeing Castle coming was weird. This movie felt like they intended it to be one movie when they first started production, and then changed it to be two movies, but they didn't end it in a way that hypes up a sequel. It wasn't even a cliffhanger, it was just a rushed wrap up with a bad narration of, there's more coming, we promise guys, come on, there's more. My sister put it into words perfectly. The way this movie ended without a castle coming scene or reveal that Ella was the one who did the prank, it's like if in Coco, Miguel went to the underworld and the movie played out exactly the same, except he finds Ernesto de la Cruz. It's actually his great-great-grandfather, and he gives him his blessing, and that's it. Hector is not relevant to the plot at all, no lessons learned whatsoever. It's what it felt like being robbed of a final act that just brings the whole thing together. Yeah, that's what's most upsetting. The lack of delivering on a lesson. The theme? What was the theme? There was many mentioned themes. None of them were actually fully delivered upon. They had some bits of possible lessons like, oh, you should always be yourself, but that didn't tie in with the theme at all. And if anything, always being yourself, that should have applied more to how they tackled saving Bridget more than it applies to Red. Like both her mom and Red should have had that be like the connecting thing between them, and that should have been like the thing that drives the theme home. They wrapped up Red's character with her opening the book and some nebulous magic telling her that she's good instead of her understanding from inside that she's good. Why would you take away the biggest avenue of character growth from Red and give it to just some magic? The book was a cop-out. It was a really bad cop-out. I'm just gonna say one of the few gripes I had about the plot is the booby trap in the book. Because if the villains got the book then to make the cupcake and opened it like planned, they still would have been frozen even in the past. The only way it wouldn't have is if they convinced either Cinderella or Bridget to do it themselves, which based on what we know, sounds like it didn't happen because they would still need to make the cupcake. And if you have the book, you can read what the cupcake does, and if it was Bridget or Cinderella, they wouldn't have baked the cupcake. I just feel it's a major plot hole. That is a major plot hole. I mean, that's why a lot of people assumed that it was Cinderella that actually gave Bridget the cupcake and not the villain kids. Like, a lot of us assumed that was gonna be the twist. But if Cinderella was gonna give Bridget the cupcake, then she technically wouldn't have been pure of heart or good, and I don't think she would have been able to open the book without being cursed or like frozen like the villain kids. The only way it would work is if somehow, like you said, like getting a good person to make it without the knowledge that it's a bad cupcake, or maybe someone making the cupcake with good intentions and it backfiring on them. I'm really hoping this plot hole is tackled in the next movie, or maybe like this plot hole is like intentional and they're gonna work with it in the next movie, maybe. Otherwise, it ruins the entire thing. Isn't the number one lesson in time travel plot to not influence it? The Red Queen did a complete 180 on her personality. Wouldn't this influence the exclusion of Wonderland in the first place and Red probably never been born? Imagine how the mass execution done by the Queen would change Wonderland. Oh my god, imagine how dark it would be if Red would be considering sacrificing her own existence to save probably half of Wonderland population. Also, those are all fairy tale characters, so they could also try a plot where Red tries to help her mom, but every time something else happens that causes her to snap. The you can't change the past, but you have to fight for the present kind of moral. It doesn't necessarily mean Red was never born. What it would mean is that it would create a paradox. I mean, if the Queen of Hearts was never evil, then there was never a reason for for Red to go back in the past and fix the Queen of Hearts. But paradoxes are often ignored in kids media and in media in general because one, it kind of like destroys the entire plot, or two, kids aren't developed enough to fully wrap their heads around paradoxes. I thought Red sacrificing her existence to save her mom and like the good of Wonderland, I thought that was gonna be her character arc. I thought that was gonna be the big thing that she has to face, and that's what proves that she's a good person to everyone. The beginning of the movie with Maddox, the Mad Hatter's kid, explaining that time travel is tricky, I thought they were alluding to that potential character arc. Like, there's so many avenues they set up for this movie to go in, and they just didn't do it. Also, canonically, in the Disney-verse, Zeus aged himself down to go to school with young Hercules in the TV show. He could completely be doing that right now, too. Yeah, we often think of Greek gods through a modern lens. We forget that they are forces of nature and people. Like, they need to adhere to their domain, like, first and foremost, before anything else. I mean, I like the example of Dionysus being the domain of, like, dichotomy. I know Janus is technically the one that's I think Janus's choices, it's different. The idea is that Dionysus is heavily associated with wine because you become a different person when you're drunk. I like the fact that they use the same actors for Cinderella and the Prince as in Rodgers and Hammerstein's movie. That the Carlos bit made me a little emotional. Yeah, I had no idea about that movie. Like, that went completely over my head. When my partner told me about it, I thought it was so cool, and I really wish I knew about that before jumping into this because I would have also geeked out with you guys. After Uliana falls into the fountain, we see Faye and Charming with the girl with multicolored hair. Her name in the credits is Meadow, but when the cast was initially revealed, she was called Zelly and was intended to be the teenage Rapunzel. At some point, the idea was dropped and she was changed, but Rapunzel was originally supposed to be in the movie. So people being upset about Rapunzel in a movie is a moot point because they never even committed to it? Gotcha, yeah. That makes sense. What's annoying is that I often don't get a lot of this information on my socials. I think the algorithm figured out that I associate like Descendants and Monster High and a lot of the other stuff that I cover on this channel with work. When I'm on like TikTok or Twitter or Instagram, I'm intentionally trying to turn off my brain. And so it shows me all the stuff that I like that isn't associated with work, which interferes with my work. It's really weird and annoying how I'm left in the dark with some of these things. I'm trying to maintain good mental health and work-life balance, but it's making it harder to do my job. Yes, I thought the entire time that Cinderella was going to betray Bridget. They set it up that way. Why the heck would they not be friends after a prank was pulled on her by some other kids? They set it up to be the Queen of Hearts against Cinderella at the very beginning. Bridget did mention when she was pranked that Cinderella did nothing to help her because she was too busy getting kissy face with Charming. And so Bridget felt abandoned. And that's why she's upset at Cinderella. She felt abandoned by who she thought was her best friend. And a lot of people think that Cinderella wouldn't have been able to go to the dance because Chloe broke the vase. The vase. And so Cinderella would have been grounded and not able to go to the dance, and that would have changed the timeline. When Cinderella's whole story is sneaking out to go to a ball. Like, come on, guys. Cinderella definitely should have had some involvement with the prank. How she was involved is up in the air, but they clearly led us to believe that something happened, and that was never elaborated upon. The thing is, I had one gripe with the plot, which is that if they did go back to the past, then went to the future, wouldn't Red and Cinderella recognize that it was their kids that they met in high school? Like, if I remember some girl in high school, and then the same girl happens to be my kid in the future, it was a plot hole that really annoys me. Yeah, you could chalk that up to them as just forgetting when they got older. But more importantly, we didn't get a chance to see Cinderella's and Bridget's reaction to that. The timeline changed, they went back to the future, they seemingly fixed everything, and then it ended. I mean, that is still possible, we just haven't seen it yet. I feel like Disney is chasing the Ever After High crowd, but doing it badly. You have no idea, especially with this movie. I made a small joke about how similar Red's basis of her character very heavily reflects Lizzie from Ever After High. But so much of Descendants, this movie in particular, is ripping off a lot of just Ever After High in general. I mean, the next biggest thing I can think of is Wonderland being sectioned off from the rest of the world. Just like in Ever After High, that was like a massive plot. I mean, we all know Ever After High is just superior in literally every way. And I am serious when I say, if Mattel brings back Ever After High, I'm getting a tattoo of the locket. You can clip this and send this to Mattel. I am dead serious. Mattel, do everyone a favor, bring back Ever After High. Descendants is clearly going downhill. Now's the chance. I really liked it. It was a fun time and the songs were good enough in the moment. I don't love the implications that come with putting all the parents in high school together, but I can live with it. Yeah, I felt like from the get-go, Descendants was its own canon. It pulls from other Disney canons, but it's still its own thing. And that's definitely true now with Rise of Red, if we weren't sure how that was sure about it before. I mean, heck, Disney loves retconning stuff. Just look at Star Wars. Uliana makes no sense to me. Plus, if they really wanted Ursula to have a sister, she already does. Morgana from The Little Mermaid 2. First of all, very true about Uliana. But as I just said, Descendants is technically its own canon. That is just more evidence of it being its own canon. And a lot of fans don't feel like the sequel animated movies are canon. They feel like they're just cash grabs, regardless of how good some of them are. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm with you there. It's good stuff, but they just aren't all that popular. And so they said, this is supposed to be mainstream. We're only sticking with the mainstream stuff, just like they did with Star Wars. Honestly, I bet the villain kids are gonna probably, Hook is gonna use a telescope to look through their window and just read the recipe for the evil cupcake, and that's how they got it. That would be the easiest way for them to get a hold of it. Uma barely being there when she was advertised to hell feels like bait. Oh, I feel the same. They knew Uma, or rather China Anne McClain, is incredibly popular. Like, come on, she's like the best character. If she doesn't have a big role in the next movie, they just added her in to help promote the movie, and she just walked away with a big bag of cash. And I can't blame her. I mean, I'd do the same thing. Okay, so my partner sent me some weird TikToks based on Descendants. Like, a lot of the TikToks right now are very blasé. It's a bunch of unimpressive takes, but there's a couple she found that's really weird. Ouch. Oh, that looks bad. I mean, I know a lot of people were saying like, sometimes like the wigs are bad. I feel like that was so close to the top of the frame that they felt like, oh, it cuts off just enough, no one's gonna notice. But you know, the internet has a lot of eyes on it. Someone's gonna be eagle-eyed. I mean, I just didn't like Maleficent's look at all. Like, I like the canon is supposed to be that she has horns. At least in the live action movie, that of which I hate, she's supposed to have horns. So this is from a person named Bridget's Lover. Reason why Regit is 100%. Bridget is still in high school, which means still a teenager, meaning she has no kids, making Bridget not her mom. Okay, that's not how DNA works. No, she's still her mom. They're both teenagers. Every time we see a scene with them together, they can't take their eyes off each other. Red obviously has a crush. Red does not have a crush on her mom. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions. No, you're not. Wrong. It's not an opinion that you're wrong. Hang on, she sent me another one. This is by the same person. Charming headcanons. Charming makes Chloe play game. I'm not sure this is appropriate for YouTube. Games with him because she reminds him of young Cinderella. No, we're done. Nope. That has to be rage bait. That has to be rage bait. Who is this person? Oh, wow. She sent me like the weirdest ones. I know I asked her to send me like, hey, if you see something Descendants, since my algorithm's messed up, just send it to me. I'm gonna add it to the video. I didn't think I'd get that.
I know. Imagine my disgust when I saw that on my For You page. I was like, ew.
Do us a favor. Stop. Don't. Quit it. No more. You're not allowed to be on the internet anymore. Nope. Sorry. There can't be people that actually believe that stuff. There cannot. I refuse to believe it. Okay, well, with that uncomfortable note, I guess I'm ending the video. Hope you enjoyed the beginning of this video, because I know I didn't enjoy the ending of this video. I read the rest of that one. It's bad. It's real bad. Oh, It's not good. It's real nasty. I'm not, Before I sign off, I just want to give a thank you to everyone who's supporting us on Patreon with the whole move and my partner's situation with her awful experience at her old job, as she's currently job hunting and trying to find a new one right now. And I just really appreciate all of you guys like reaching out, and she went to all the posts that I made and read all of your comments and really appreciates it. She's really just been taking a lot of time off for herself right now, and right now she's been doing a lot better. But it's still like a thing that we are currently working on when it comes to how she has panic attacks in large crowds, and like doing like exposure therapy that her therapist recommended. And it's just a bummer because like it's the same year I'm like, I want to go to concerts. I love concerts now. And now she can't go to concerts and I go to them alone, and I'm like, it's not fun without her. And then I started covering her rent, and then everything sort of got difficult. And so like you guys supporting us really helps. And even if you don't have like the disposable income to throw at Patreon, like just watching and sharing the videos helps a lot. So with that being said, that's everything I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay beautiful and keep playing.